Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mike. I'm from Paw Paw, Michigan. I am 68 years old. I am retired, semi-retired, I should say. I am a United States Air Force vet. I work security at Wordsmith Air Force Base in Muskota, Michigan, a base which is now closed. Anyhow, with this election, I decided, you know what? Let your voice be heard. I want to talk a little bit about Trump. I'm seeing a lot of Kamala Harris signs and know a lot of people are leaning that way. She's the first black woman to run for president and blah, 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 blah. That means absolutely nothing to me from either party. What matters to me is the character, their moral values. What do they stand for? Now, Trump is no saint. We all know that. As a matter of fact, there's times that stuff that comes out of his mouth even upsets me. But let's look deeper into the man, the character, his values, what he stands for. Let's look at the catastrophes around the world. Who's the first one in politics with boots on the ground? Trump. Who was there in Ohio during the major chemical spills? Not this administration, not Kamala. She comes in after the fact, or Biden comes in after the fact, but Trump. Who was the first in the South? Boots on the ground. Definitely not FEMA, definitely not the Red Cross, definitely not this administration. It was Trump. He also brought supplies with him. As I researched Trump more and more, not via the mainstream media, because they have so persuaded the minds of so many people to hate this man without knowing who he really is. Do a little bit of research. Trump is a very caring individual. He cares about you and me. He cares about our fellow citizens. Trump is a giver, a helper. He has loaned out his airplanes. He has reached out to people, helping them in a variety of different ways. Only occasionally do you hear about it. Now, he was recently on Fox with Tyrus, and Tyrus asked him about what he did for this person and that person, and Trump goes, I don't do these things to brag about them. And he didn't want to talk about it. That shows you character. That shows a little bit of humility from this man. Now, when you're dealing with government and you're dealing with politics, sometimes you have to say things that aren't kind. And I'm not making excuses for him. We have a government that no longer listens to you and I. They proved that through COVID. Mask mandates, locking us in our homes, locking us out of our jobs, all kinds of things, mandating a poison jab for many or lose their jobs. What government does that? I can only think back to World War II. Let's not forget history, gang. Trump isn't perfect, but let me ask you this. Did you enjoy his policies from the previous 4 years? They're telling you he's going to increase taxes. If I recall, you and I benefited from taxation. He reduced our taxes in his first term. They're telling you he's going to take away yours and my Social Security. It's funny, he's going to not tax our Social Security. This administration has given our Social Security to people crossing the borders, what we call illegal immigrants. It's a felony to cross that border illegally. So these are really criminals. As a vet, though, Let's talk healthcare for a moment. When Trump took office, he changed things dramatically for the men and women who have served in the armed forces. He gave us a choice to go outside of the VA for healthcare treatment. And the processes were easy. He fired 9,000 worthless people who did nothing to help the vets. And today, it's worse than what it was even before Trump took office the first time. I can say that firsthand. Now, I want to make this clear. Not all VA facilities are bad. I go to the VA facility in Battle Creek. Now, our primary care physicians are not doctors. They're nurse practitioners. And in the years that I've been going there, I can't tell you how many different nurse practitioners I've seen. They come and go. If you see one for more than 2 years, you're doing well. So you got to break them all in. You got to go back through and spell out all that history, what's going on, what's happened in the past, because they have no clue. As soon as they learn it all, then they're gone somewhere else. They come in long enough to get the pensions and the benefits. My last visit to the VA clinic in Battle Creek, and I can't remember what I went there for, but my nurse practitioner is talking to me, and I'm asking her what we're going to do here. But she goes, "What do you want me to do?" Very rude, very condescending. And I very politely and graciously stood up and I said, "You know what? You don't have to do anything." I walked out of the VA. Now, initially, when I joined the service in 1975, we were promised free health care. And initially, after I got out of the service, it was. But over the years, they've managed to change the way they do things. You go to a doctor, your primary health care, you may have to pay a $50 deductible for that visit. Well, guess what? I have to pay a $50 deductible to go to the VA to see a nurse physician. I also have to pay a deductible for prescriptions. So, after my last visit and walking out of the nurse practitioner's room, upset, frustrated, I decided I'm done with the VA in Battle Creek. I took part of my Social Security and I now pay for my own insurance. Yes, I have a $50 deductible, but I figure at least I'm seeing a real doctor, and they didn't promise me free health care like the VA did when I joined the service. And I still have an occasional copay for prescriptions. Not only that, there are certain types of prescriptions that the VA doesn't even carry, so you can't even get. So if you do get them, you have to go to an outside care provider, and then you have to pay out of pocket for the whole thing. I went to Memphis, Tennessee once to the emergency room one night. I had developed an infection on my arm from an IV, and this is just another example of poorly operated VAs. But we went there, they put me in a room. The room was dirty, had several holes in the sheetrock. The doctor, the emergency room doctor, looked like somebody that came out of a haunted house or a haunted movie. Seriously, she was rude, unprofessional, and uncaring. So I lived in Jackson, Tennessee for 2 years. I wound up traveling to Murfreesboro in the future for any service. Murfreesboro has a good VA down there. But that was an hour and a half, 2 hours away, if I recall correctly. Because I wouldn't travel to Memphis after the care I'd received going through their emergency room. So things have declined since Trump left office for the vets and their health care in a lot of facilities. Not all of them, a lot of them. So when you're voting, think about the vet. Think about the sacrifices they've made. Think about their families. Think about the loved ones that these families lost. They gave their sons and daughters for you to have your freedoms and the liberties that you have today. And what are we giving the vets? What are we giving them? Many of them you're going to see today wandering around your streets and towns homeless. Many of them are dealing with, I don't want to call it mental illness, but dealing with the effects of war. Remember one thing, in 4 years that Trump was President of the United States, our men and women never saw a war. We've lost more men and women overseas in various conflicts under this administration than we did for Trump's. We're sending people to Ukraine. Look at the military servicemen and women we lost and the pullout of Afghanistan. Billions of dollars worth of equipment that we could have used to house homeless vets and get them the care they need to deal with the conflicts that they have from these previous wars. Men and women have died under this administration needlessly. Why do we have wars? Well, the mainstream media is going to tell you this country's bad or this dictatorship is bad, etc. No. War is money. Big, big money. The men and women serving in the military forces today are nothing but pawns on a chessboard. Billions of dollars are made in wars by the rich and the elite. Ukraine. We have homeless vets. We have homeless people. And we're sending billions of dollars overseas instead of taking care of the people in our own country. I have a problem with this. I have a problem when you can't hire doctors and nurses who care about vets, who care about their health care. That's one of the reasons I'm going to vote for Trump, because he cares about the military men and women. Abortion. Do you know in our country today that dogs and cats have more rights than an unborn baby? A baby with a beating heart, a baby that can feel like you and me, a baby whose mind is developed enough to know pain. If I were to walk out here and shoot my dog, I'd go to prison. But if my wife goes to an abortion clinic and has an abortion, we all cheer. Women's rights. It's my body, my choice. Well, they make birth control, condoms, pills. Your body, your choice. How about some common sense? Protect yourself. But we also know that there are billions of dollars being made through these abortion clinics. It's not just the abortion. These babies, their bodies, parts, bloods, and organs are all being sold. Let's talk about voters. Let's talk about Christian voters. Let's talk about gun owners. Do you know that 377,000 gun owners in Michigan alone are not registered to vote? Over 10 million nationwide are not registered to vote. yet they're concerned about their gun rights, but they don't vote. I'd say they're part of the problem, wouldn't you? Let's talk about Christians. The Sunday morning pew warmers, the godly saints. Who do you vote for? Many vote for a party that embraces murdering babies. Many don't get involved in politics because they don't believe they should, according to the Bible. According to the Bible I read, from Genesis through Revelation, we'll see politics all the way through. I love the book of Judges. Shoot, read Judges, you'll see politics all the way. Oh heck, let's go to Romans, we'll see more politics there. Oh heck, let's go fishing. Jesus said, go down to the water here and pull that fish out and take out some coins. Take the coins out of the fish's mouth so I can pay taxes. Don't tell me there's not politics in the Bible, gang. You better read it closely. But this year alone, it is estimated that 30 million quote-unquote Christians will not vote. It is estimated that 10 million Christians are not registered to vote. You're part of the problem. I vote. I'm doing this video not for my sake. Marcia and I already have 2 grandchildren, and we have a 3rd one on the way. I'm concerned about their future. I'm concerned about our children's futures, even though they're young adults now. That's why I vote. We're seeing our freedoms taken away. You know, they force injections upon little babies when they're born. Did you know back in the old days when a baby was born, they left the umbilical cord attached to the baby until the umbilical cord was empty? They wanted that baby to draw in all those nutrients that baby requires. That umbilical cord was normally empty before they cut it. And guess what? They didn't get a shot. They didn't get filled with poisons within minutes of being born. Today, these doctors are jabbing these kids with these poisons. It's insane. What's sad is no vaccine has ever been known to cure anything. Big Pharma doesn't make anything to cure anything, but to make money. They prolong the diseases, they prolong the ailments so that they can reap more money. That's what greed has done to these people. Dogs and cats, animals. How'd they survive so long before vets came into play? Just mind-boggling, isn't it? Stop and think about it. Dogs and cats have been around for thousands of years. Why do we have to give them shots? Why do we have to inject their bodies with poisons? I've done a lot of research on this too, and I've heard a lot of people say that most of the diseases that our animals get can be, along with humans, can be linked back to these vaccines, or what they call vaccines. They're actually poisons. But either way, what's really disgrunting to me is our lack of moral values, where we will give our dogs, our pets, our cats a priority over an unborn child. Where you can go to prison if you murder a cat or a dog, but you can't go to prison for murdering an unborn child. You're part of the problem. Social Security. Trump's not going to take our Social Security. but he's going to stop taxing our Social Security. Senior citizens and those who need Social Security paid into it for years. We don't get any interest off that money. But our government has taken and spent every dime of it. And they're giving it to Ukrainians coming over. They're giving it to people crossing the border. It's tragic that those people crossing the border are going to get 2 to 5 times more to support themselves than what a senior citizen does or a homeless vet. That's a problem. We're going to give you free health care. We're going to give you a free phone. And guess what, gang? They're going to get their tuitions and college paid too. What are you doing for the senior citizens? What are you giving them? What are you giving to the homeless vet? What are you doing for them? Now Kamala says she's going to do all these wonderful things when she gets into office. Okay? You're either stupid or you lack total common sense and discernment. She hasn't done anything for 3.5 years. Now, you can hate Trump all that you want, but his policies benefited each and every American citizen here in this country. You can't deny it. If she didn't do it for 3.5 years, you honestly think she's going to do anything or in 4 years, in the next 4 years? Let's get real. Let's deal with the truth. Let's deal with the facts. Let's deal with reality and what's happening around us. Under her watch, she set up GoFundMe to have criminals, to get funds to bail criminals out of jail when they were burning the cities around the country and during these riots. You want more of that? Billions of dollars burnt to the ground. We won't talk about the effects of what it had on people. People lost their lives during these riots. People were seriously hurt during these riots. And we won't talk about the J6. For whatever reason, the J6 always comes out of everybody's mouth, especially those voting for the far left. Why aren't we talking about the cities that got burned down? The streets and towns that got occupied? Why aren't we talking about the criminals coming across our border that are occupying apartment complexes, killing and raping our children? Why is that? Why is it that we can't have a conversation today without somebody getting offended? I'm tired of this woke agenda. There was a day that you could sit down and talk about religion, politics, or anything. Now, you might not agree with the opposing views, but you didn't punch each other out. You didn't get upset and cry. You agreed to disagree. And you walked away friends. Race, all lives matter. I don't care what race, creed you are, it doesn't matter. What Barack and Big Mike did with race, they set us back 100 years. I don't care who you are. If you're a man of integrity, a man with moral values, character, if you're an individual who shows me respect, I will show you utmost respect. Doesn't matter where you're from, what color your skin is, because the bottom line is, gang, we all bleed the same color. They created the problem. This administration, the 2 administrations before that, excuse me. We live in an evil, wicked, demonic world. And I fear what my grandchildren are going to be left with, what my children are going to be left with. I'm reaching the age now, for me, I don't have that many years left, so I could say I don't care. But I won't. I have to be concerned with my children. Are they going to wind up in these 15-minute cities where they're restricted, where they can't travel outside that city without permission? We're already being fact-checked everywhere else. They're going to take away the freedom of speech. They're going to take away all their liberties. Will there be any justice for them? Our justice system is another whole deal that I don't even want to talk about. I'm a victim of a major crime. So are my 5 siblings. We saw how the justice system works. It doesn't. And many of these people today are realizing that the offender has more rights than the victim does. And it's gotten worse in the last 2 decades. And until you get out of your little bubbles and see what's going on out here, you'll never know. Until something serious hits you, like the folks in the South, North Carolina, Florida, etc., who are suffering greatly and getting seriously, literally, no help from our government. I just heard Red Cross is pulling out too. I heard there's threats of Red Cross is closing shelters, so I heard there's threats if these people don't find homes that their children will be taken away from them. That's our government. Remind you of another country with that kind of a government? Let's talk World War II. What got us into that war? The government doesn't care. Look how many lives were lost in Vietnam. You had a president picking his own targets, and many of those were civilian targets. He didn't care about the civilians. He didn't care about our military. Why were we there? It was all political. It was all money. And the big titans in the war and producing the war equipment made billions. The bottom line is, gang, when you vote, look at the character, the moral values, and the integrity of the 2 people out there that are running for president. First, Trump was nominated. Harris wasn't. They forced out the President of the United States and put Harris in. She wasn't nominated by the people. That should tell you something in and of itself. Excuse me. She's had 3.5 years to do something, even a little bit, and she hasn't. We are a country whose moral values have declined. We are a country who would rather believe the lies than the truth. We are a country that's lacking discernment and common sense. I'm a 68-year-old male retired veteran. I'm not a cat. I'm not a dog. I'm not a female. We have a serious mental health issue in our country today. And some of you do yourselves as well, even though you may not consider yourselves a male or female cat or a dog or a fish or whatever you want to call yourself to make your little innards tickle. When you go to the polls this year, don't think about you. Think about the vets. Think about the families that lost loved ones over these wars and the lies we've been told to why we went to war to begin with. Think about the future of your children, your grandchildren, and their children. Will there be freedom, liberties, and justice for all in the future? Will they have free speech? You can say what you want to say about Trump. Trump gave us 4 years and he showed us what he could do. And our borders were under control. My tax rates were lower, so I was bringing more money home. I received better health care from the VA. We need to put God back in our schools. We need to put prayer back into our schools. I'm a God-fearing American patriot. I believe Jesus Christ is the Son of God. I believe Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. I'm no saint, gang. But God has given me discernment. He's given me common sense. It's time we take advantage of the little things God has given us and make the right decisions and choices when we go to the polls. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to me. Gang, you know, when dogs and cats have more rights than an unborn child, something's wrong. Something's sick and demented with these people who will give a dog or a cat more rights than a child. Everybody, take care. God bless. Bye-bye.